next word is crevice.
Back to the mountain.
Yes, a deep, narrow opening in a rock caused by a split or a crack. Crevice. Who has that word, crevice? Skylar.
On a mountain we have here in Washington, Tiger Mountain, there is a massive crevice that a lot of people drop their phones into.
Oh.
But to get the good view, you have to jump across that, and that's where people lose their phones.
Oh, dear.
Is
it dangerous to jump across this crevice?
Yeah. I lost my glasses down.
Oh, goodness. That is tragic.
Yes.
When I think about crevice, I think of my students' backpacks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think things disappear into the crevice and you never find it again.
Right. I also think that in our home we have a couch or sofa, and in between the cushions there are crevices, and I have found many things in there from people sitting on our couch.
Do you ever find money in the crevice?
I do find money. Lots of change falls out of pockets. Yeah.
Common occurrence. Who has a sentence they can make using the word crevice?
Hot dogs sometimes have crevices in them.
Mm.
There's also a large one in the middle.
In the middle. And can you put something in that crevice?
Yes, you put sausages.
So more food on top of more food. Evan.
There are crevices between the sidewalks, and even though you can't trip on them, they're still weird.
Yes, they can look kind of strange. They make the sidewalk look not so pretty, not so well kept. That's absolutely true. Mm-hmm. Kurt.
Earthquakes also make like big crevices.
Yes, definitely.
Good point.
If you make your hand flat, like you put all the fingers in one direction, so you can see kind of like crevices in them.
Absolutely, because there's a gap between the fingers, right?
They kind of look like those speed bumper things.
Speed bumps. Okay. I guess I can see your point on that.
A lot of animals live in crevices in rocks, don't they? Like lizards or snakes or all kinds of things, especially in the desert.
Oh, that's true. In the desert. Luckily, we're far away from that.
I don't know. There could be some insects or bugs here that we have in crevices that we may not want to find.
Oh, I certainly hope not.
Spiders, cockroaches. Okay. Moving on to another word. We have the word optimism. Who has that word?
So, an optimism is a feeling of hope or cheerfulness, and it also matches with optimistic, which means cheerful and hopeful.
Yes, there's different forms of this word. So optimism is a feeling of hope or cheerfulness.
I often have a feeling of optimism at the beginning of the week because everything is new and I have all these great plans and I've had a nice restful weekend. So my feelings of optimism are very high. But on Friday, after a full week of work and play, I feel a little bit less optimism.
You are the opposite then, a little bit pessimistic.
Yes.
Yeah, you have pessimism, which is the opposite of optimism. How about you, Evan?
So at the end of the week, the student felt optimism when he got to go back home to play video games.
Yes, doing something you enjoy absolutely increases one's feelings of optimism.
Every year on my birthday, I feel a lot of optimism. I get a lot of gifts, and later at dinner, I get to go Mandarin buffet and try to conquer all the food, even though it's like an avalanche for me to conquest.
Well, certainly, because if you enjoy something, that gives you a feeling of optimism. So we all know, our regular listeners know, how much Justin enjoys food.
Yes.
So his birthday brings him an opportunity to have lots of food at, what did you call it, Mandarin buffet? Mm-hmm. And that means he has a feeling of optimism.
Yes.
Because he gets to engage in his favorite activity, or one of his favorite activities, we should say.
You can use that word as an adjective to describe Justin. He's optimistic about his birthday. He is an optimist. He is one who looks at things in the most positive way, a cheerful, hopeful person. The opposite of an optimist is a pessimist, somebody who complains and doesn't look at life in a good way. You can say, that she sees everything as gray or black. But an optimistic person sees things as sunny and hopeful and blue. Do you know anybody who's an optimist? Yes, Kurt.
My mom is always trying to be optimistic because sometimes we are like negative.
In America, we have this thing called Optimus Prime in Transformers, but he's kind of unhappy normally and looks at stuff darkly.
Really? So
Is this a figure of like a character of
It's
a
a
cartoon?
character from a movie.
Oh, okay. So it's a fictional person.
And they actually call him an optimist?
His name was apparently Optimus Prime.
But he's really a pessimist, so.
Huh, it sounds like some kind of joke.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have a sentence they can use with optimist? Skylar, let's have you try optimist.
I was very I was feeling like an optimist when I went in to try and eat the entire icing off of the cake, but afterwards my stomach felt like a balloon and it wanted to explode.
So because you were in pain, you no longer felt like an optimist. That makes sense.
Okay. Evan, do you know anybody who's an optimist? Can you name an optimist in your life?
Maybe like myself when I get to play video games.
Okay.
I get really happy.
And
Seems like pleasure brings optimism.
yes. Skylar, can you think of something in your life that makes you cheerful or hopeful or optimistic?
Not eating the icing off of the
No.
All right, so Skylar is probably feeling not optimistic today because he's got a stomach ache. His brother's birthday and this cake incident just happened yesterday.
I feel optimist when I'm eating food in a video game while I'm eating food in real life.
Okay, blending the virtual world with the real world.
All right. Our next word is the word summit.
Oh, I love this word. So, a summit can mean many different things. Okay? There's a path that has to be followed to get to a place. Sorry, wrong one. It's the highest part or the top. So when you think of a summit, it's something in a high level. And my favorite use of it is that it's a conference or a meeting with top leaders in government. I remember way back in the 80s, when things were different, it was really important that world leaders got together and had a summit. It wasn't something that happened every day. It wasn't something that happened every year.
Right.
So when top leaders met, it was important, and it meant that something good was going to happen because of it.
Yeah, they would all gather together in one place to discuss it. Yeah, they had a summit.
So who's got summit?
So do I make a sentence?
Sure.
So sometimes after like a road trip, we go to like the summit of a mountain so we can get a really nice view.
Ooh, that's a good word. Good use of the word.
Financially speaking, some people say that the summit of a company's growth is like when they've gotten the most money at a time. Like Microsoft, the Halo franchise's summit was when they published Halo 3 and sold it.
Okay, so that sounds like something from economics.
Yeah.
When some hikers reached to the top of Mount Everest, they planted their home country's flag on top of it.
Beautiful.
Oh, that's nice.
On top of the summit, right? Yeah. It's a hard place to reach, isn't it? Not everyone who sets out to climb Mount Everest reaches the summit. And our last word is the word route. Not like a plant route or route. You can also pronounce it route. It is a path that must be followed to get to a place. It's a fixed course or area assigned to a sales or delivery person. You can have all kinds of routes. You can have, in America, we have newspaper routes where people deliver newspapers. We have people who deliver milk to people's homes. And there are milkmen, we call them. What else?
Oh, I'm thinking about the mail. We have the mail routes.
Yes, mail routes. Anybody else have that word, route? Okay, Justin.
So a sentence would be during World War II, the routes during D-Day was Norway.
Okay, great. So you've got something historical again. Well done.
I know there's some highways that start with Route 66.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, the famous Route 66 in the United States that went all across the country.
The route to Canada on the GPS was wrong.
Oh.
So we had to reroute it.
Reroute.
Oh, good.
That's
Change
good.
of phrase there.
I have a route set on the GPS that goes directly across the video game store, but actually leads to a Mandarin buffet.
So from one favorite thing to the next.
I know that a lot of times when we set out to go somewhere that we aren't familiar with, my family and I will plan our route. We'll look at a map and we'll figure out which roads we need to take and which turns we need to take. So it's important sometimes to plan that.
Mm-hmm. You should plan your route before you start out on your trip.
In order to get to the summit of a mountain, you have to take the route of it to avoid all avalanches.
Okay, absolutely. This makes sense. Well, it looks like we've come to the conclusion of our list, so we're at the portion of our program during which we create a bit of a story, and the story is going to be fun, and it's going to make sense. Who's going to start for us? Justin, you look like you're ready.
During his conquest, Mr. Smith took Route 66.
But he was an optimist about it, so he was happy.
Then a massive avalanche wiped his car off the road and he almost died.
And then his feeling of optimism was wiped out, but then a blizzard came.
Then he called one of those roadwork managers. The roadwork manager, however, went on the same route that he did, and the avalanche fell over and killed him as well.
So then he climbed onto the summit of a mountain to get to safety.
And then a giant crevice opened up and he fell to his sad death. And now he's dead.
And then he got revived, and then he conquered the world.
However, he was sadly defeated in his conquest. However, his son, Smith Jr., decided to conquer the world as well.
I had to keep the story going, so I guess he was an optimist about it.
And then he died.
Nope. One moment, please. So, Skylar, you need to use the words in the list during your sentences.
An avalanche of bad fortune flowed his way, and he got impaled in the brain with a sword.
Okay, well, good. I think we finished our story. We had lots of adventure in that story. These words were quite dramatic, some of them. And that was what story we heard, a dramatic story. All right, so this is the end of our radio broadcast for today. We hope you enjoyed it, and we will look forward to meeting again next week.
Smith Jr. decided to conquer the world.
Goodbye.
All set?
Okay,
All right,
so
Skylar,
a couple
did
things.
you not want to do it?
A couple